Hi guys, and welcome back to another review. This time around I'm bringing you something new in the market. It's called the SEEKHIFI S2. This is a 1+2 hybrid. I want to thank the people from ODA and Alexander as well for having me put into contact with this brand, and well, obviously making this review possible. Anyway, as I was saying, this is a 1+2. I don't know much about the brand. This is the box that comes in. Nothing, out of the normal. It's got the essentials, some tips. The cable is a USB type cable. Okay, I actually ended up not using the cable only because it was a USB type cable only, not for any other reason. The cable is actually of good quality. It's got a decent selection of tips. I'm actually still using the stock tips as well. I did try some KB07s and the Venus Velvet like I usually do, but I ended up using the stock ones. As for a cable, I'm using a cable from a brand called SEEKHIFI. I'm trying to see if I can find where it says the name. But anyway, nice brand with some really accessible cables. A lot of the quality reminds me of the stuff from XINHS and IVipQ. So nice cable. And this is one of them that I got from them. This cable, if I'm not mistaken, was $39. And it actually paired up quite nicely with the S2. As for the S2 itself, it's a nice mix between a metal faceplate and a resin shell. Inside, as I said, it's a 1+2. It's a hybrid. Price is around $129 if I'm not mistaken. And the fit of the IM is actually pretty flawless. At least in my ears, I've got no complaints. It sits beautifully in my ears. It's not a heavy IM. It ergonomically perfect. Build wise, you couldn't really ask for more at this price point. The only thing is, like I said, which is not a problem again. I mean, this is the USB type cable connection, but you can get a normal type cable connection. Is the cable that was unfortunately, I got the USB without actually paying attention. That's the reality. Case as well, decent enough case. It's pocketable. That's it. I mean, it's solid. Like I said, for $129, there is not really anything that we can complain in terms of, oh, they missed this out, they missed that out. No, I think they've ticked the right boxes. Decent accessories, good build quality, and now obviously, what does it sound like? I could have brought out a whole bunch of IEMs and do those comparisons that I like doing, but I actually decided to keep this simple. And the reason why I decided to keep this simple was because when I started listening to the S2, I immediately said to myself, I've heard this style of doing things. I've heard this type of sound. And I thought, and then I graphed it. And when I looked at the graph, I mean, I was like, okay, this that doesn't look bad, but doesn't remind me of anything in particular. And then it hit me. It reminds me of the ICO OH10 and of the ICO OH10S, which is what I've got here. Those of you that have been fortunate to listen to the OH10 will understand what I mean when I say that it's an IM that really captivates your attention. It's a 1+1. Yes, significantly more expensive than the S2. We're talking $189 if I'm mistaken, so more expensive. But it's an IM that as well, when it came out, the OH10 especially, ticked all the right boxes. It had excellent cable, good accessories in terms of the tips. Everything was what it should be and what to expect. Build quality was like a tank. I mean, this is probably one of the most solidly built IMs I own. This thing it's proper weight. I'm guessing that if you actually throw this thing at someone, you're actually going to hurt them, because it can cause some damage. And then in terms of sound, it was an absolute beast. I mean, it had, yes, it was a V-type signature, But I don't know what sort of magic that IVipQ did there, if it was the shell in combination with the good quality driver, with the way that they tuned in the BA and paired it with it. It just came out as a very, very solid sounding IM with a phenomenal bass performance. OH10 and OH10S are kings in that department. They have bass and bass, mid bass, lower mids, and mids or something else. Honestly, or they are truly something else. As for the OH10, the original one, the high end, sometimes there could be a little bit, I wouldn't say aggressiveness, but lack of polish. While the 10S addressed that, and the 10S is the better of the two. That's the reality. It's basically maintained the magic of the original, but then reduced the extension a little bit, just tidied it up a little bit, and it just came together in a more cohesive package. And the S2 is basically OH10S, to cut a long story short, with a few touches here and there to make it even more, I would say, polished in the higher end. In terms of the bass performance, the S2 is got the same sort of magic that the OH10S has. It's an incredibly lush bass. Some of you might, on occasion, especially if you are, I would say, not bass adverse, but bass demanding. Yes, there are occasions here and there that it could be a little bit quicker, it could be maybe a little bit extra resolving, but you know what it gives in terms of weight to the bass, or to the note, to that guttural feel that it's there, it's present, that sub bass rumble, and at the same time still keeping everything clean without being sluggish or muffled, is something that it deserves merit and far surpasses the minor little glitches that it might have. Obviously, having said that, of course, you have to be a person that likes this sort of more warmer tonality. If you are a person that doesn't appreciate bass in more quantity, then this is definitely not going to be an IM for you. But if you like an organic, old school type of sound where everything is there in the right measure, and makes listening to music fun, it makes it a fun experience, then S2 is definitely something that you have to hear. So bass, as I said, ticks all the boxes for me. Incredible. Mids, this is where it's actually interesting to see. When you look at the graph, you think to yourself, oh my, but such an early pina, and then dips, and I mean, it's not a pretty graph to look at. But then again, this is what I've said countless times. Graphs are there to give us maybe an idea of what an IM can sound like, and thus maybe help us not to make rash decisions in buying stuff. But there are also countless other IMs that the graph looks like absolute, looks like an absolute mess, let's put it that way, to be polite, and it sounds incredible. And this is a little bit the case here with the S2. It's not that the graph is a mess, and when I show it to you, you'll see what I mean. But you would never, if looking at the graph and then wanting to make some and generate some opinions about the sound by looking at you would probably get it wrong, or at least partly wrong, because like I said, the mids are really, really well done. I don't know if it's that forward nature between 1 and 2K, with then the dip following that, and then that extra energy there up to at the 5 to 7, 8 kilohertz area that has done the magic of what you actually hear. But it's really, really good. Okay, fine enough. You might be saying to yourself, oh Tony, but you're so exaggerating, you are overshilling it, Oh no, look, the mids are fun, they are musical. These are not mids like if you're wanting that impeccable audiophile neutrality. No, that's not what this is about. This is about having mids which keep up with the bass that is capable, that the S2 is capable of, making listening to music fun, making listening to music something that you say to yourself, oh, let me try this song and see how that sounds. And I mean, I went through a whole bunch of stuff. I went from EDM to jazz to, like I said, I've got my playlist. When I usually do my reviews, I usually place my playlist there with the songs, and it did everything really, really well. you know, there wasn't anything that I could say, okay. Yes, the occasional female presentation was perhaps a little bit overly husky, but the demanding songs, stuff like that I like listening to, that can kind of give me a perception of how balanced I am. La Belle Dans Sans Regrets from Chris Botti, House of Groove, Comfort Zone from Larry Carlton, Sweat by the J.K. Reviv remix, Elephant by Carol Duboc, You by Cecile Norby, From Dusk to Dawn by George Duke. All these songs came across incredibly well. I mean, honestly, really good. Even things like Stand By Me by Dominic Fil-Aim, which I like listening to her as well, because she's got a phenomenal voice. Dominic Fil-Aim, phenomenal voice. I believe she's Canadian actually. Let me see. Seven Sisters by Dominic Miller. Another one, Souls by Magnus Lindgren. Again, songs that were all done perfectly. Don't Need the Real Thing by Candace Springs. Raising Venus by Malia. All of these songs seriously well played back. And then going the totally opposite end, going to something like Vibra by Matthew Midori, which is an EDM song. An insane bass presence. 1,000 Seconds by Black Hole, and again another song that the bass, the engagement that the S2 is capable of, really second to none. I mean, obviously this is not a comparison with the ODA, the D100, the Helios, but there was quite a few times that I was listening here to the S2, and it kind of gave me the same vibe of the D100, that engagement, that ability to really bring you in and captivate you that the D100 has. At least for me, it has. It's definitely become one of my all-time favorite single DDs, and I say it without any issues or without any problems. It is a solid IM, and the S2 is quickly becoming an IM that I would say, for its price point, and if this type of more warmer, powerful kind of presentation that the S2 is capable of is something that you appreciate, is something that you like, and if above all you are a person that likes listening to music and having it be fun, trust me, S2 will not disappoint. It will not disappoint. So bass, we already know it's good. Mids, really well done. Treble, it's got enough energy, it's got enough presence. At no point was it like the OH10, the original OH10, lacking maybe a little bit of polish and becoming this elegant, becoming a little bit. I mean, to say it's aggressive, it's not the right word. It just loses its composure slightly on the OH10. The OH10S, was affixed to that issue. The S2 from SEEKHIFI is a further improvement on what the OH10S does. Let's put it that way. And that's I think is the area where the S2 might be slightly surpassing overall in terms of sonic performance the OH10S, and otherwise it's a very similar sounding product. If you like the OH10S, you will definitely like the S2. The other positive thing, obviously, here on the side of the S2 is that the price. We're talking about a $60 to $70 price difference easily, and also another thing which is worthwhile mentioning, the fact that the shell is more user friendly is going to be a plus point as well. The OH10, both versions, the normal or the S, were known for this weight, this heft that the shell has, and not being the shell that fits the nicest in your ears. It fits okay, but it's basically the weight that becomes a problem, and that was an issue with some people. So I think in terms of sound, I've basically said everything. In terms of its technicalities, the soundstage, it's a more of a cozy soundstage, more of a closed venue type of thing. It's not a very expansive, very large size of soundstage. No, imaging is pretty decent, surprisingly. It's good. I have to say it was good. But it's the timbre and the tonality that I think it's the area in terms of the technical capabilities where the S2 shines. It's very correct in its timbre, although we have this bass heaviness, like I mentioned before. It is always very correct. It is always very capable of being true to what you are listening in instruments. Fair enough, fair enough. Having said that this is its biggest characteristics, I'm not going to deny that maybe cymbals sometimes could come across just a little bit extra, more detailed, hi-hats and so on. But honestly, that would be me nitpicking and not appreciating the S2 for what I think was the intention. Because when you listen to it, you don't find that disparity that sometimes you hear of the, okay, this is a dynamic driver and these are the BAs or whatever other drivers are in the equation. You listen to the S2 and, as I mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, it sounds like you're listening to a single DD of a very high quality like the ODA 100. Obviously, the ODA 100 does surpass the S2. I mean, and it's not because it's just more expensive. No, it does surpass it. It is a better product. But I think you already get the vibe of what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that for the price, it has been able to emulate the performance of IEMs, which have been here for a long time. The OH10 has been around for like 5 years or something of the sort, or 6 years. I can't be precise now. And the 10S a little bit less, I think 2 years now. But it emulates that sort of performance that established models and brands have obtained, and it's also is capable of giving us very solid vibes of a single DD of a very high quality, which is the case of the D100. Anyway, guys, I'm just going to quickly show you the graphs and wrap this up. Okay, guys, so here we have another graph for the S2. First thing I'm actually going to show you is left and right channel. As you can see, it doesn't get much better than this, honestly. And if anybody's going to start nitpicking about that, seriously, guys, don't. Where it matters, it is flawless. And I measured it, I would say easily 7 or 8 times. I was so impressed by how balanced, how correct left and right were, that I had to make sure that I was doing the right thing. And this was measured with the tip that I'm using, which is the gray and red whiteboard tip. Okay, now let's just take away here the one because we don't need this. All right, so bass, as you can see, it's a big bass, big bass. There's no lack of energy there. We're talking about a 13 dB bass gain, give or take 12-13 dB. So big bass, and that's why then you have these unusual manner of doing the mids and the upper mids and the treble area, which is you have this very early forward way of doing the mids here to give this energy that helps clean up maybe this mega amount of bass that we have from behind, and then also another peak up top to again give a little bit more cleanliness and sparkle to the way that the bass comes across. And the reality is, when you listen to it, you don't notice these dips. Yes, okay, fine, if you wanted to really nitpick maybe here and there on just pure female vocals, you will notice that something is just missing slightly, but honestly, guys, trust me when I say that this thing sounds incredible. Compared with the OH10, and I think the graph says it says enough. I mean, let me just quickly change the color so you guys can see better what I mean, but I think it's self-explanatory. Let me make it red. So the OH10 is in red. The fact that we have just a single BA, I think, is the reason why this top end here sometimes becomes slightly unpolished. You could say, oh, but Tony, the S2 is not that much different. Why? Well, because by having the two BAs, I am positive that they are not being as stressed out as the single BA is on the OH10. The crossover network is also different, and you're just able to get a different combination by having more drivers, just basically taking care of all the frequencies. Okay, the OH10S addressed this issue of the original OH10 by just lowering the energy level ever so slightly, and this little difference that you see here is sufficient to make the S just that little bit more agreeable, especially when you start pushing the volume at high, at the extremes of the IM. Let's put it that way. Again, let me just repeat. I'm saying this so you guys can understand that it's not something that ever bothered me, but you do notice it, obviously. And of course, if you do have your hearing abilities 100%, not like me, then definitely you will pick up on these differences that I'm saying that the OH10 and the OH10S have in a much easier manner. Anyway, it's the OH10S, this one, that ends up then being the one that sounds the most, or the S2 sounds the most like the original. You could say, and rightfully so, oh, but the graphs look so different, Tony. I mean, like there from 1 to 2 kilohertz is completely different, and it's not. Guys, trust me, the way that everything comes together, they sound very similar. And the biggest difference that you will pick up on is that the S2, the SEEKHIFI S2, is a little bit more polished, a little bit more capable in the higher frequencies. So treble, I would say above 5 kilohertz. It's just ever so slightly more capable. Is it only down to the way that the tuning is being done there? Is it the drivers? Is it the conjunction between those factors that I've just mentioned, and then the DD and how the DD has been tuned? I think it's a combination of everything. What I do know is that if you like the OH10, if you like the OH10S, you will like the SEEKHIFI S2. That is guaranteed. You can, I'm positive about that. Anyway, that's it, guys. I mean, there's really not much more that I can say. Solid high-end. I hope that I will be able to see more models from them, more things. I would like to actually see a single DD to see what their take on a single DD is. I would like to see a 1+4 from them as well to see if they follow with the same philosophy in terms of tuning style. And that's it, guys. As always, like and subscribe. Any questions, please feel free to ask me. All right, you take care now. Bye-bye.